So, it begins. Dark were the skies and chill was the wind as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people cried out for a savior, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shimmering metal from head to toe. Wielding a terrible broadsword, he did cleave his foes in twain, smashing their ranks asunder with a righteous fury. And when the day was done, and the enemy strewn across the fields in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and say, "We shall name this day in your honor, speak unto us your wisdom." Slowly the warrior turned to face the assembled crowd. Lifting his sword on high, he said but one word that day. One man, one Murloc, one giant, angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now.
Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Please, right here on cynicalbrit.com, or at least it would be if our server provider hadn't broken completely. So our server went down 10 minutes into the pre-show and hasn't come back. I don't know why. It's fallen flat on its ass, which is problematic. However, if there are people unable to tune in, there is a alternative link that you can go to. I shall provide this to you once I find it. Yes, I did put out this over here. Yes, it is the following. Ow. Yes, ow, as opposed to more like ow. Yes, ow.ly/4u7yg. So that is the short link. Ow. That's ow.ly or owly/4u7yg. So if you want to give that to people who are having problems tuning in, then by all means, we'll be playing the interview with the Daily Blink as well as the guest hosting segment a little bit later on. Sadly, I wasn't able to bring them on live because one of the Daily Blink crew, as you might be aware, actually is in the US Navy, which means that he very, very rarely actually has time to do anything. So, yeah, we had to record it previously, but it's all sorted out and there's plenty of great content from the Daily Blink. I believe probably about 45 minutes worth, so and there's stuff coming in from that. We'll be discussing patch 4.1 as well as patch 4.2 and all manner of other cool things. Aside from that, what else is coming up in the show? Well, I'll be talking a little bit about Zul'Aman Zul'Gurub and the second tier. Yes, I use air quotes. You can't actually see that, but trust me, there are air quotes going on. There may or may not be Turian air quotes. The second tier of 5-mans, and how lame it actually is. Also, I'm not going to do mailbox this week, because I don't see the point. I do mail like every day on Azure Daily anyway, so I'm just going to spend time talking about what I've seen on patch 4.2 so far. However, your chance to contribute to the show is coming in, folks. You can email in to themurloc@gmail.com. Wow, that's not even a proper sentence. Let's try that one again. It's a weird pronunciation. Themurloc@gmail.com. No, themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com for the illusion of choice. Email in what you think the last topic of the show should be, and I shall pick the best one and address it at the end of the show. So that's how things are going to be. Didn't go on last week. I believe I was busy doing something. I'm trying to remember exactly what. But yes, I was definitely busy, so I wasn't able to do anything. This show kind of happens at the moment when I have the time. It's not a huge priority, because obviously I've got all of this other stuff going on, and I'm prioritizing the work on YouTube, which is obviously my paid work, so Blue Please has been a hobby for like the last 6 months, and I'll keep doing it because I like doing it. I enjoy it very, very much, but making a livable wage out of a podcast, unless you happen to be Twit, is very, very unlikely. So it's just something that I do in my off time when I get the chance. I try and make it as regular as possible, but there are times when other things simply have to take priority over that. Just something to consider. Okay, folks, okay, I think that pretty much covers all of that. What's been going on this week? Well, I have started playing again as of a couple of weeks ago. Started playing when patch 4.1 came out. Got myself to 85. Got some items. I'm going to be doing some raiding on Sunday. Obviously, I've pretty much done all of the raids anyway. I did them in beta, so I'm just getting some gear prepared for actual serious Firelands raiding and hopefully heroic raiding with patch 4.2. Trollface, I believe, is currently the highest ranked Horde guild on Anchorage, and as a direct result of that, I think we are getting plenty of new recruits in terms of raiding. Admittedly, we are still recruiting people, so if you're interested in joining any of the Trollface raiding divisions, head over, I think it's trollfaceguild.com. We do have a website. I'm going to have to check this. I don't check this website. It's not maintained by me. Yes, trollfaceguild.com. We do recruit. We are over on Anchorage. We have slimmed down somewhat, as has pretty much every guild. I mean, we started with quite a lot of members, but obviously we got rid of the chaff. We now have 500 actives, which is really good. And we are, I believe, the highest ranked Horde guild, or at least the second. WoW progress is a little bit behind, I believe. So it's showing us as having less kills than this other guild. And I know for a fact that we have actually got more than that. But there you go. I think we're something like 8 out of 12 or 8 out of 13 heroic. Yeah. It's not bad, really. It's not bad at all. So I'll be raiding more with them. That should be fairly enjoyable. But I'll tell you what I'm not having fun with. This is going to be the topic for this first segment. Actually, shall I do this now? Yeah, why not? We'll do this now. We're going to talk a little bit about the second tier. Yes, the second tier of 5-mans. So, can you please tell me who exactly thought it would be an amazing idea to have 2 dungeons in a separate tier that reward you with significantly 1, better loot, and 2, more badges? I think the better loot I can totally understand. I am actually alright with that. It's the more badges thing that I'm not okay with. Yes, more badges. Goddamn badges. Stealing all the honey. Honey badges are vicious. I'd like a tier of badges called honey. That would be fantastic. I would find that amusing. So, they decided to put the 2 Zandalari dungeons, as they call them, Zul'Gurub and Zul'Aman, on a higher tier than everything else. Now, in terms of getting better loot, that's okay. We saw that in Wrath when they brought in those 3 5-mans. I still believe that those 3 5-mans were probably the best 5-mans in the entirety of Wrath. I'd say maybe the Nexus was possibly better than Pit of Sauron, but regardless, it was great, and I do mean amazing, fantastic content in the ICC 5-mans. Until, of course, they nerfed the hell out of them, but I actually did them when they were hard, and they were pretty enjoyable. Now, in those dungeons, you didn't get more badges. You got a few from doing quests. You get badges of Frost from doing these one-time quests in there, which was okay. That's not a problem. But if you were to... you couldn't queue for them separately. They were part of the random rotation. Now, I do sort of understand the reasoning behind why they would put them in a separate queue. Because, obviously, there is gear in there, 353 level gear, that is very valuable to a lot of people. 353, that's obviously higher than the 346 level blues. There are some high quality, in fact, the highest quality, pre-raid items outside of, 1, BOEs, and 2, crafted items. So that's fine. What I have a problem with is the fact that you earn more Valor points, and I do mean more Valor points for actually queuing for those. Which is fairly ridiculous. Why is that exactly? Why would you earn more Valor points for queuing for those dungeons? Now, some might say, oh, well, because it's harder. Yeah, that's true. However, here's the problem with this system. What happens is, you put in place a situation where the only 2 dungeons that people want to run, because of the amount of Valor points, and of course free Maelstrom crystals, I might add. This is something to consider. Maelstrom crystals, oh hey, look, fairly valuable. And of course, the only real place to get a ton, and I do mean a ton of free Maelstrom crystals from. So, that's why people queue up for it, and they queue up for the badges. And of course they would queue up for the badges. Why would they not queue up for the badges? You get more valor points from going in queuing for those dungeons than you would from queuing for any other dungeon. And it's awful. Now, I've got a problem with that. I really, really do. And indeed, why wouldn't I? Because, for one thing, I went into those dungeons again, and I did one. I did one on the PTR. No problem. No problem whatsoever. It's all good, you know? I did the Zul'Gurub, and I had no problems with it. Hell, we four-manned every boss but one of them. I didn't do Zul'Aman, and as it turns out, I went into Zul'Aman, and I discovered exactly why I didn't bother with it. Because they've changed nothing! It's so pointless. Hell, the end boss, it's not Zul'Jin anymore, but it pretty much might as well be. Got pretty much the same mechanics going on right there. Do I look impressed, Blizzard? Not really. I love their excuse for it as well. Oh, well, some people didn't get to do it. Big deal. That doesn't mean you get to recycle it. Hell of a lot more people did Zul'Aman than did, say, Naxxramas. And hell, you brought Naxxramas back as a raiding tier, and then you brought Zul'Aman back as a smegging 5-man. Which, of course, even more people are then going to be doing. And if I'm totally honest, because of the way that the badge system currently works, there is no reason not to do it. You have to do it, really. It's the best way to do it. It's the optimal way to do it. Not to mention all the daily quests you find in there, so it's even more valuable to go back into those dungeons. And here's the problem. You do the same 2 dungeons over and over and over again. You get bored stiff. Let's say somebody wants to do all 7 of their dungeons in one day, because you can now do that, which I might add as a great feature, and I'm happy with that. Because I never really liked, oh, well, I can't do something today, so I've just lost out on the opportunity of getting my freaking welfare epics. And if you want to do all 7, it's like, right, well, I'll just queue for this. Zul'Aman, Zul'Gurub, Zul'Aman, Zul'Gurub, Zul'Aman, Zul'Gurub, Zul'Aman, claw my damn eyes out! Please! Panther boss, please claw my eyes out. I'll feed the rats to the sodding panthers if you will do that. It will be much, much more enjoyable than doing this dungeon again. Any goodwill that we had towards that, any nostalgia that we had towards Zul'Gurub and Zul'Aman has been firmly wiped off the map, thanks to the fact that you are doing it so bloody often. Hell, I had problems with that in vanilla. You were doing Zul'Gurub so often because it was on a 3-day reset that, yes, you got sick of the smegging place. Now you do it every day. Oh, good lord. And hell, I find that disgraceful. Because, I'm sorry, Zul'Gurub is not that interesting. There are some cool mechanics. But they're not all that entertaining after you've done them for the umpteenth time. And they're not all that challenging either. And some people might say, oh, it's hard in a pug. Yes, of course it's hard in a pug. God, that's like saying painting a wonderful piece of art is really hard when you're blindfolded and have no artistic ability to begin with. Yeah, it's pretty damn tricky. It's not a usable metric, though. You can't say the dungeon is hard because the people doing it are completely and totally inept. Driving a car is really hard if you have no hands. So I'm told. It doesn't make it any better. I think the biggest problem I have with it is what I said beforehand. And, hey, look what happened. It came frickin' true, didn't it? Some people were criticizing me and said, oh, no, it'll be great when it goes live. No, it isn't. It's not great. It isn't great at all. I like the fact that the bear runs are still in there, because those are actually kind of difficult. That's fine. But still, that's optional content that, really, you don't need to do. I mean, do I care about the bear? No! Why would I? Hell, most of my guild doesn't care about the bear. What's cooler, the smegging bear or the damn scorpion mount? It's the scorpion mount! That I can tell you for a fact. It's a much better mount. It's a well-textured mount. It looks amazing. If I'm going to hang around on a ground mount, I'm going to hang around on the level 25 Scorpion mount. I'm not going to hang around on a sodding Armani bear. Even if it is recolored. As regards to me, I will sit on my big Blizzard bear, because that's even more unique mount. Hell, I don't know any others on the server. That's a fairly unique mount, folks. So, while I like the fact that the bear run is there, it doesn't really give you what you need in terms of an enjoyable and challenging dungeon. It's a gimmick. And it's okay that the gimmick's there, but don't use it as an excuse by saying, oh, well, what about the bear run? That doesn't excuse the rest of the dungeon. Absolutely not. And hell, I've noticed a bunch of things there that were nerfed to hell, trash pulls and all sorts of things. That was fairly ridiculous. I like the fact that they threw a mechanic or two in there, like, for instance, adding the White Hawk into the Bird Boss's encounter. That was alright. Something a little bit extra there. But then again, they nerfed all sorts of other things, like the guy who burns you now. Yeah, you remember that guy. He scatters less bombs around, and yet there are less people on the field. Why? Why? What is the point? Why did they nerf that? I don't understand. That's all about individual movement skill, and hell, it's easier because you have less people running around distracting you from where you can stand, and yet they reduce the number of bombs on the field. Why? Hell, if anything, they should have increased the number of bombs. There's no raid level skill required there, it's just don't stand on the glowy explodey things. It's just a thorough disappointment, and I know for a fact I am going to hate those dungeons. I am going to despise them by the end of this. How could I not? After doing them over and over and over again so bloody much, how could I not despise those dungeons? The short answer to that is, there is no way that I cannot. And that sucks, because you know what? I actually didn't want my memories of those dungeons tarnished. This was the thing that I thought would happen. As it turns out, it's exactly what did happen. And it's awful. It becomes a burger flipping job in a dungeon that actually I had a lot of good memories in, and now I would rather was scrubbed from my brain with acid. That's a problem. Please do not do that again. Terrible idea. My name is Total Biscuit. You are listening to the one and only Blue Please right here on CynicalBrit.com. After the break, we will be going into the interview with Daily Blink, folks. Should be good. I'm looking forward to it. And in the meantime, some classic In Flames. This is episode 666. Enjoy.